say this is certainly more than I expected. Thank you all very much for coming. I mean, it's an unexpected privilege and an unexpected crowd. Now, I have specific matters to address, and I understand that I was asked this morning on News Talk, was this a resignation? Well, it most definitely is not. I've no intention whatever of withdrawing from the race, so let's kill that straight away and get down to the substance. I want to speak out this morning, and for me this is the first real Independence Day. This is when the independent voice on behalf of the people of Ireland starts to get heard. I have always fought on the side of the marginalised, and now I intend to fight on behalf of all the people of Ireland. Voters in the presidential election have a stark choice to make about the Ireland that they want. Successive governments have put the interests of the establishment and the preservation of the system above the welfare of the people. The welfare of the people should, must, and will come first. We may have had a change of government, but not a change of the status quo. The people have been betrayed, and our money used to save banks rather than jobs and homes. This current Labour Fine Gael government has ignored the lessons that should have been learnt from Fianna Fáil's previous mistakes. The current government is trying to fool the people into believing that they are doing things differently, but they still abide by the same rules. The Keane report, just published at the end of last week, to be debated here in the Houses of the Oireachtas this week, is yet another horrifying example of the government putting the protection of the system ahead of the protection of the people. And here it is, an act of betrayal. An act of betrayal of the people.
David around here.
Eddie Hobbs, who has joined New Beginnings, which you all know, which is an organisation which represents and defends mortgage holders, is strongly supporting my stand on this critical issue. He believes, and I'm quoting Eddie Hobbs, who apologised that he could not be here in person this morning, the state has chosen to give banks enormous capital buffers against debt losses, but on the basis of the Keane report appears poised to allow banks to continue to hoard the lion's share while dictating terms of slavery to over 100,000 Irish families, parents and children. Not only is this morally and socially obscene, it is economically incompetent and unworkable. Give these families the oxygen to breathe again with balanced deals that create incentives to stick with it for the long haul, and you will rescue the domestic economy. But force-feed them what Eddie Hobbs calls the foie gras mortgages envisaged by the Keane report, and you will destroy them. Groups such as New Beginning were not invited to help to compile the Keane report. Their submissions and those of other groups intent on protecting the interests of the people were largely ignored. The working group, which was appointed by the government to produce the Keane report, did not include any representative at all from those most affected, the people of Ireland. It was a group made up of those intent on putting the preservation of the system and the establishment above the welfare of the people. Voters now need to decide if they want a president who will maintain the status quo through their association with Fine Gael, Labour or Fianna Fáil, or an independent president that will protect the interests of the Irish people above the interests of the system. My track record in Irish politics of standing firm in defending the interests of the Irish people is, I believe, unmatched by any of the other candidates. Over my 24 years as an independent senator, I have constantly fought against the establishment on behalf of the people of Ireland. I voted against the tax amnesty bill in 1993. I voted against the bank guarantee scheme in 2008. I voted against benchmarking. I voted against the immigration bill. I voted against the defamation bill. Ask other candidates their record of putting the interests of the people above that of the preservation of the system and of the establishment, and you will see that my record speaks for itself.
Is this a last-ditch bid just trying to save your campaign from annihilation?
We're not, well, that's a rather strong word to
It
use.
is, yeah.
Annihilation.
The polls are suggesting that it is. It's heading that direction, isn't it?
Well, there are various polls. When I got a series of 6 good polls in a row, I said I'm an honest politician.
We can only rely on the recent polls, really, can't we? You know, and they're suggesting you're not doing very well, and perhaps today it appears to be a bit of a stunt to try and stoke up a bit of publicity. Is that not the case?
Well, now I'm very happy to answer the question. Is that your final question? Okay. Thank you very much, because it makes it difficult when you're interrupted. This is not an act of desperation. This is not a stunt. With regard to the polls, when I was just in the middle of answering when you interrupted, so I'm not being rude, I hope, but I said when I got a succession of 6 good polls, but politicians, when they get bad polls, will tell you it's a snapshot. I said when I got 6 good polls, it's still a snapshot. It's all to play for.